everyone. Welcome to Charcha Unplugged, and it's gonna be fun. Okay, so I have here with me Mehak um, Wadhwa Benham. Is that right, Mehak?
Yes, that is
Yes.
correct.
So everyone, she's a passionate educator, dancer, traveler, and an eternal student of life. She's worked really hard to be where she is, and she just loves children. And she's explored many paths in the field of holistic and wellness education. So, in an attempt to reach here, she's written and published a book called 31 Daily Practices to Inculcate Mindfulness Meditation in Education. She's a psychologist by profession with specialization in counseling and expressive arts therapy, professional diploma in yoga science, a certified clinical hypnotherapist, a cultural ambassador between India and Japan, and a certified TESOL/TEFL teacher. She continues to seek more opportunities to discover, learn, and live a life full of fulfillment and joy. And it's so amazing to have you here, Mehak. Welcome to Charcha Unplugged. How are you feeling?
Thank you so much. The pleasure and honor is all mine. And I am always a big fan of Live Jam and all the initiatives. So I'm really, really fortunate to be part of this. So thank you. I'm good. Actually, very happy to be able to connect to all the Indian audience. It's been a while. And I think there's always a silver lining in every situation, in the whole lockdown and the world coming together. So I don't feel as disconnected because I see everyone online and I can be part of things. So that's really cool.
Yes. You said for the Indian audience. And for the Indian audience, can you tell us where you are?
I'm in Japan. I'm in my house right now, and it's on the East Coast. The prefecture is called Ishikawa, and we have a house in Nakanoto. So that's where I am. And also, it's 2:30 in the afternoon because we are 3.5 hours ahead of India.
So good afternoon, ma'am. Thank you for joining us all the way from Japan. Good. So everyone, I hope you know that today we're going to be discussing about peer pressure, peer relationships, to be precise, and the keeping up with the in crowd and the anxiety that comes with it, the pressure to be in the in crowd. And Meg's just gonna help us have a conversation on the same, share her experiences with her students with us, and it's just gonna be amazing. So Meg, I'm gonna start asking you a couple of questions, and you can answer them, and we're just gonna go with the flow. And I would not want to interrupt you, so lay your heart there. Okay, so my first question to you is, please let us know a little bit about yourself and what is the best and worst part about being a teacher. Watch out, students. You want to hear
Okay. Well, I've had an interesting journey because it started with psychology. When I started psychology, I had no idea what psychology is. I never had an opportunity to study it in school. It, happened at the graduation level, and then it was kind of destiny for me. So that has been my journey, and that led to many things. To pursuing that, it led me here. But the best and the worst part about being a teacher, I never thought I will be a teacher, first of all. But when I, worked in India, the best part was to be able to have the direct connection and the bonds with the students. And I think that is still going on. And that is something which is very, very sacred for me. To be able to have that beautiful connection with all my students, every student that I connected with or they graduated, most of them are still in touch, and I really love connecting with them. So that's the best part. The worst part probably is to follow rules when you're working in an institution or an organization, because I was working as a counselor, and there are these ethics in counseling, confidentiality being one, and that was often, you have to walk on eggshells, balancing the act between the management and students and stuff. And, following those kind of rules and protocols would be the worst part, the challenges, I would say. Yeah.
Okay. That's definitely a challenge, and it's so good to hear that you want to stay in touch with the students, and you want to help them to the max. And yeah, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us. So yes, everyone, if you have any questions, please do feel free to post them. We I will ask Mehak those questions from in between our questions. So don't hesitate to reach out. You have the chat box below, and we can see your questions. Okay, on to the next question. So, Meg, amongst all this, how do you open a dialogue about mental and emotional health with your students, and how has experience been so far?
I think I was very fortunate, although it's not kind of correct to have a counselor doubling also as a psychology teacher, but that was my role. So I saw the silver lining in that again, because many times teachers would often come and complain and say, oh, students don't behave as naturally as they would in a classroom when they come to your office, or when they're in a counseling session, you don't know. But as a teacher, assuming that role, having classrooms and teaching and stuff, I was able to kind of observe the student behavior within the natural setting, and teaching psychology as a subject, that itself is like, that's exactly what we were doing. We were talking about mental health, we were talking about emotional issues, and I would try to bring in as many examples as possible for teenage and the youth to connect with, and the contemporary issues that they would have. So it was never an issue to open the dialogue, because we were already doing that. And some people who would really, some students who kind of felt, oh, this is the issue that I'm having, then they would come in separately and seek time, and we would have counseling sessions. So I never saw that as an issue per se. If there was something which was, I felt, pertaining to a larger audience, or something that can be addressed to a bigger group, I would bring in that topic in life skills class, or just address that in class itself, and kind of take views. And sometimes you might not say it because you might be an introverted child in the class, but because you hear other people's examples, and when that issue is addressed by the teacher, you kind of learn from it vicariously. So that works too.
I love three things about what you just answered. Firstly, it's very important, everyone, when she said that a psychologist should generally or should not be a counselor as well, but she accepted the role, and there are differences between both the positions, and it's great, Mehak, that you accepted that with open arms. The second thing was welcoming students, encouraging them to share and just listen to them. And then the third, about the group discussion, I mean, so important. I mean, it's
Yeah.
we become so individualistic in nature, and it's important to let them know that they're not the only ones, that there are others who also feel the same ways. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Guys, I hope you're taking notes, or you're like, just this is helping you. Please let us know, and yeah, I'll move on to the next question. Okay, so what can teachers do, Mehak, to appreciate students' strengths and how it improves their relationship with them?
I think do exactly that, appreciate their strengths. But I see why you're asking that question,
As simple as
because
that, yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's what it is. And what we often forget is, the whole teacher training and the pressure of completing syllabus and exams and stuff in a usual school setting, you forget that you're actually connecting with human beings. And although nobody is perfect, everyone, no matter what, even the rowdiest of the kids and the most boisterous of the lot, will have one or the other strength, regardless of whatever they're doing and whatever their behavior is being exhibited as. And as a teacher, it's extremely important to be able to pick on to that strength. And once you do that, once you appreciate and acknowledge the student for whatever strength they have, they're going to eat out of your hands. I'm letting a secret out here for all the students, but that is the reality of it. I can illustrate with this with an example. In my second year, when I was teaching, there was this one class, which was the most notorious class. I think it was 10th grade. And, every teacher kind of dreaded going into that class. If there was like a substitution, they didn't want to go. Everyone would try to avoid that class the best. And then I was asked to go in that class, and I went in for the first time. And, it was a very usual setup. The class is rowdy. The studious kids are sitting in the front, the boisterous boys at the back, and they're chit-chatting. They're least interested and not paying attention. They only want to make fun of teachers and, trying to test press limits and pushing limits and stuff like that. Typical teenage behavior. So I walked around, and there was this one boy from that group who was, his notebook was open. On the last page, there were illustrations. And oh my God, those illustrations were gorgeous. They were so beautiful. I couldn't believe it. So I asked this boy, I said, "Is this yours?" And he's like, "Yeah." I said, "So do you want to be an artist? Do you want to?" He's like, "No, I want to be a photographer." And I said, "These are amazing. You should definitely take up arts and stuff." And that was also the time when they had to decide what they want to do, like in 11th grade, what stream to take and stuff. And I think that kind of pushed him. And always been ridiculed and put down on that level that tum to aise hi ho, tum to nalayak ho, tumhe kuch aata nahi hai. Then students will start living up to that tag and that role that they have. But the moment you put them up on a pedestal saying that, "Oh my God, this is amazing," and wow, now suddenly they feel like, "Oh yes, I can do that. This is my thing." So you instantly recognize that strength. And once that happens, your connection with the student has happened, and then it just carries on. And this particular student is still one of my favorite kids, and we're still in touch. And it was really amazing. So we can always do that. It doesn't matter how bad the behavior is, it can always be rectified. It just needs a little bit of attention, awareness, acknowledgement, and appreciation. So every teacher can do that.
Imagine how again that is hard for teachers as well. I mean, there are teachers who want to again be there for their students throughout, and if in a class of like 30 to 50 kids, recognizing that is hard. But as long as they see each kid as equal, like you said, even if he's a rowdy kid, if he's a studious kid, if he's a diligent child, every student should be treated equally. I mean, I agree with you totally, Mehak. I mean, it's a beautiful sentiment. Teachers out there, take a note. I myself was never, like when I was a kid in the first grade, I remember my teacher like completely dismissing me, not appreciating a mistake. I made a mistake but yeah, I was 6 years old. I mean, I needed that, yeah, what you shared struck a chord with me. So thank you for that. And I would encourage. Yeah.
Sorry,
Please
I'm
go ahead.
cutting you in, but I want to just make a little note here. It's not about treating everyone equally, but it's more equity based. It's like you have to address the child what they need. Like, if you can't treat everyone equally because everyone has a different personality, everyone has their different nature. And as a teacher, when you're interacting with them every day, you do notice that. So by having these uniform rules and uniform way of dealing, it doesn't work for everyone because that will kind of create that inequality within the students.
Yeah.
So when you're addressing what that particular child needs, that's when you are really forming that connection. And it is difficult to do that for all 30, 40 students. But to be honest, in a class, not all 30, 40 students need that kind of attention. There will be only a handful, either the really quiet ones or the super talkative ones who would need that extra attention from you. Yeah.
Thank you for correcting me because, that's true. That's extremely true. Yeah, cool. So, no, I completely understand. Some students would need that attention more than others. Teachers can recognize students who are falling behind, and they would need that extra amount of attention. But yes, Mehak, thank you for correcting me. I appreciate that, and I learn something new every day. So that is that's awesome. Thank you.
It's not a correction, it's just an improvised.
I'm fully grown up, and I love being school. Okay, so I will, no, that's very important. So I will also make a note of that and make sure that I don't address it carelessly. So next question, Mehak, would be how can teachers thus foster a healthy dynamic between boy-girl relationships among their students? Not thus, but what would you say about that? How do you foster the healthy dynamic?
Is this referring to like romantic love, or is it just coexisting in a space?
Can you talk about a bit about both, because I think that both are important. Yeah.
Okay. Sure. I think mostly like in this Coed education system that we have majorly, that becomes an issue. And there are these teachers who have more traditional ways of thinking, very conventional ways of thinking, and they in their head they start associating even normal friendship as, oh my god, what will happen, she's going to get pregnant tomorrow or some things like that, you know.
Mm.
But this is what happens. It is, the issue is not that there are two students coming together, it's all the paraphernalia, it's everything that's associated with it that becomes the issue, which may or may not be true. And the chances of that going to the extreme would probably be 0.1%. And when I was asked to come here for Charcha Unplugged, I was just talking about these experiences with my husband, and he's British. And this is where I want to bring in this point. And one of the things we were talking about, and I was telling him, how that students get affected by all these labeling that happens, and even when it's not true and stuff like that. He's like, something like this would never happen in UK. And he said, it's just not a taboo. It's just not an issue. And this is where it brings in another perspective. I think India as a nation, as our collective consciousness and the growth that we have, we put too much emphasis on these unnatural things, which if you look at it in the past was extremely natural. If there are students, if boys are coming together, if girls are coming together, if a boy and girl is coming together, it's perfectly normal. There is absolutely no issue. There is natural curiosity at that age. And the problem begins when we, as teachers, as adults in the society, start making a taboo out of it. Because what happens as teenager, you want to test limits, you want to push boundaries, you want to see how much far I can take it. But if it's not a taboo, then it's not something that you will be interested in doing. It's just part of life, it's normal. So by normalizing this whole issue and not making it, oh my God, they're sitting together, oh my God, they're walking together, it's part of life. It happens anyway. So as long as it's not harming, it's not contributing towards self-harm, or it's not contributing towards the other person's life in that matter, I think it should just be normalized. And high time we do that. And once that's the case, it shouldn't be an issue altogether. It's only natural for that age to experience these emotions. And we teach them not to do things, and that's avoidance. We're teaching them the wrong skills. We're telling them to avoid situations and not resilience, like how to tactfully deal with the situation. What if you have a heartbreak? Then, your studies will get affected, blah, blah, blah. But we are not teaching them how to compassionately connect with one another, how to be empathetic towards one another. And once you come out to another person with that pure form of love, it's not just then romantic, then you can have that with anyone, and that's not an issue.
Can you correct me if I'm I have a thought going on while you're talking.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. So it's like the more curious, the more a teacher condemns such, the more a teacher thoughts a student's, relationship with another. Do you think it does increase curiosity? It does, like you said, it's a way of life. That's why they then rebel, or that can cause to something that was not intended, because they rush and just just to, because that age we are more rebellious, and we are more, because we don't know what's on the how to approach such situations. So the curiosity increases, right?
Absolutely. It's like if I tell you, Dorothy, I want you to not think about a pink elephant. Please do not think about a pink elephant. And definitely do not think that the pink elephant has a giant golden hoop in the neck. And no, the pink elephant, do not think that it has a bindi on its head. Do not think that all the ears. What's happening? You automatically do it. Right?
Yeah.
So by putting so much attention and focus on don't do this, you're basically literally telling them, please do it. Test your limits. This is banned. Go ahead, do it. And as a teenager, when your hormones are raging and everything, you will go ahead and do it. So by just like normalizing it, okay, there is a pink elephant. I can look at it, or I can choose not to. It's fine. You carry on with your life. So it's about what are you going to give energy and awareness into, and that is what is going to grow. I hope that kind of answers the question.
No, it does. I'm just contemplating. So I'm a person who just likes to contemplate and then move on instead of be like, okay, fine, you have answered it. Good job. Let's move on. So,
Great.
Just to inform the audience, that was a question I came up with because I wanted to know and clarify a truth that I think is is what Mehak addressed. So thank you, Mehak. That was
Also, sorry, I'm gonna add
Please go ahead.
more to.
Yes,
Uh,
please do.
I just remembered sometimes having this relationship with another person can
Hmm.
really transform your life, and in a good way. I remember there was this girl, and she really liked this guy. And
Hmm.
she did not, she came and she confessed, and she did not want to go and tell him and stuff like that. So I used that as an opportunity for her to see herself more objectively and be able to work on herself. So when situations like that happen, because she felt that the boy is, too good for her and she can never reach up to that level. So I'm like, how about we raise your level? And that became an opportunity for her to be motivated to become a better version of herself at the time. So I think this can also be used in a very productive manner and not just always be demeaned and being like tabooed about it.
Once again, Mehak, can you explain what you meant by objectively looking at herself? Because people associate objectivity with something else.
Objectively, it's like I can see myself. You look at yourself, you kind of have the awareness, but you look at yourself from as if you're being observed out from outside. Like I can look at myself as Mehak, but how do I come across if I'm not Mehak? I pull myself out. It's like I'm watching myself on video or in a movie. Then you're able to see. And I think in today's day and age, when videos and photographs are like such a common way of life, when you start looking at yourself from that perspective, and I think here one of my favorite things, meditation comes in. When you just like sit back, you close your eyes and you kind of go through your day, you kind of go through how you responded in situations and things like that. That's when you start getting an objective perspective. You get out of your head and you start like pulling out, and you can see yourself from like that satellite vision, that zoomed out vision, rather than just being like so much into it. And that becomes a problem, and that is pervasive at every level. And that's why meditation works at every level.
So instead
Yeah.
of scrutinizing yourself, you analyze yourself. Like, I
Yep.
mean, that's
Yeah. It's
that's
like if I want to read, for example, if I want to read this piece of paper, I cannot have it here, right? If I want to
yeah,
get a good look, it has to be at a perfect distance.
at a distance. Yeah.
At a distance. And it's the same thing about self-realization, about watching your own acts. You have to have that distance. How will that happen? Sit back, close your eyes, relax your breathing. And once you're calm, you will start seeing things, you will start getting perspectives that you never had. And nobody else will be able to give you that because it's self-realization. And the best thing about that is you, like any other training, you get better at it the more you do it.
Absolutely. I live by that rule. Like, if you're going to be good at something, you practice or you work
Yeah.
hard for it and you just like pursue it in that mindset. Awesome. So the next question is again very close to the one I just asked you. And okay, what advice would you give to students who are looking for true love during their teens?
Keep looking. There's plenty of fish in the sea.
Amen, sister. Yeah.
I think that's one of the things, right? Because when you feel like, oh my god, this person is my heart and soul, I want to sing every Bollywood song, I want to run around the trees and do all of that. Again, that's part of like experimentation. The impact of media these days and the idolizing relationships and stuff. You need a companion to experiment all of that stuff on, to live that dream. That's also part of curiosity. And I think that puppy love, the school age love, it has its own charm. And there is, again, no harm in doing it, because what will happen? There could be two things. Either it will go further away, like along, or it will break off, right? And again, as I said, what's the problem with heartbreak? I think when you are broken, when your heart is broken, when you're broken from inside, that's when the light pierces. That's when you really start seeing things with a lot of meaning. And there is nothing wrong in that, because I think we associate too much negative connotations with this will happen and that will happen. It will be the end of the world and stuff. And we shouldn't be doing that, I guess. It's like what I can learn from it, because when you associate with any person at that romantic level, you get to learn so much about yourself. Every person is a mirror. And once you start, and when you approach a relationship from that perspective, I think it's always learning. And what's life? Life is all about constantly learning and unlearning about yourself. You learn some things. Oh, this is working for me. I carry on doing this. Oh, this doesn't work for me. I need to unlearn and learn new skills. And it's an ongoing process all through the life. So when this whole romantic love thing happens in school age, it can teach a lot of good things, and it can also take you to another level. It also prepares you for better, more harmonious adult relationships. So personally, I would never condemn them. I would be encouraging. And if it goes a long way, great. But at the same time, given today's scenario, I understand that how quickly people change and how the awareness is so pervasive. The information is so much. So your growth as a person can be very different to your companion. And that's when the problem lies, because you could be either like too slow or too fast and it doesn't match. And at that point, when you change gears, when you're kind of going towards university, you have this big decision. What do? I have this romantic love. And that's when you have to like kind of give yourself some time and think about it. Like, what do you really want? And again, pulling yourself out, getting an objective perspective on what life means to me helps you. And throughout this whole relationship, if you keep that approach, if you approach the relationship with that awareness, I don't think it will lead to that bigger problem. Having said that, there is no harm in finding true love. If you find it, great, kudos. If you don't, it's never too late. And as I said, there's plenty of fish. You just need to wait and watch and see what comes your way.
Great. So what I hope I can summarize it in this way, that you're both growing, guys. Your friend, your boyfriend, you guys are both still growing. And like Mehak said, there's a lot of experiences, there's a lot of things you need to experience while growing up. So it might change both of you the same way or extremely differently. And another thing, Mehak, I loved about your answer was that you weren't contradictory to what you said before, that you let the way of life be, that you do not deter such relationships being formed or friendships formed, which is very important. So I hope you all of you who are watching this, you take this away from here. Amazing. Yes, Mehak, did I say something wrong?
Yeah, I want to share my personal story about it, because
Yes,
it's all nice to say like these theories in action, but I'll be very honest. I have lost count of number of people I dated from my school till I got married when I was like 31. And when I finally found my husband, I had such a plethora of experiences connecting with people that it really filtered out for me so clearly that these are the things I want and these are the things I don't want. And although everyone pretty much in my family was not initially on board with it, but it was the easiest decision for me, because I was so sure by that time, okay, these are the things that I wanted and this person has it and the rest doesn't matter. Like if you see the profile on the paper, it might be like, why, what's going on? And I was like, no, there is something more that I understand. And where did that understanding come from? From the past experiences. So it's all, it's all connected. It all leads you to that point. It's all a preparation to that ultimate. And I've not been more happy. Yeah.
That's beautiful. And it's your own story. Thank you for being personal with us. And once again, thank you for letting us know what your experience has been. We're all different. I've had a similar story, but different ending. But yeah, like you said, it's take your time, guys. Take your time. Okay. So moving on to the next question, what can teachers do to promote unity and eliminate bias in a classroom? I know you don't treat everyone equally. So, okay.
I'm working right now in a Japanese school, and it's been some time now. And one of the things that I've noticed here is it's so beautiful. This one aspect, there is one phrase in Japanese, which is I think constantly used no matter where you are, from your flight announcements to your airport announcements to your train announcements to your general announcements to your class announcements and everything. It's called Go Koryoku, which means please cooperate. Please cooperate with us. And this entire nation is just based on that concept. It's cooperation first and competition then. And I think if we start using that approach, it is going to change the game forever. And that is what probably India and the youth today needs, because I think we have given so much emphasis on competition. From the childhood, your parents are like, "Arey, uska beta dekho, wahan pahunch gaya, ye dekho, ye karo." Competition, 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 right? You need to compete. Although healthy competition, there's nothing wrong with it. But what happens is then you start putting the student or the person down, and they start, devaluing themselves by encouraging cooperation. And by that, I mean like simple things like, for example, here in class, if there is a assignment or a classwork given to students and one person finishes, then the teacher will instantly say, please go about and help other students cooperate, because your winning or your completing the task is not enough unless everyone is on board. This class is there together. So we all need to help each other to rise. This whole concept of a self-made person, I think that's nothing can be more rubbish than that, because we live in a society, and no matter what, you cannot have success in isolation. Even if it involves, you're using your parents' money, their house, you're using all the resources within the town, city, everything. It's a combined effort of other people. And just by being aware of that, acknowledging that I am not alone in this, and there are all these people, and I need to respect. And even if the person does nothing, it's just a catalyst, it's still contributing, right? Sometimes the most silent kid in the class can teach you so many lessons. And we fail to acknowledge these things because we are too much in our head, we're too much full of our own egos. And this whole concept of cooperation, what I've seen here in Japanese schools, it's like literally won my heart. And I wish that, I wanted to do and encourage this sort of behavior even when I was teaching, because it's not just about you getting your 99%, but what about others? Why don't you go help them out? Because what are you going to do with it? At the end of the day, it's all about sharing. You can be as successful as you want. What are you going to do with your success if there are not enough people to recognize your success? Right? So,
I don't want to cut you, but what about kids? What about we ourselves do it till date? When we're at our work, we can apply this at our workplace as well.
Absolutely.
What if like, just an example, guys? Not saying that I am like this, but what if I am like, I don't care. I worked so hard. I do work. I study. I do my best. And I know, for example, if I do know that kid, okay, regardless of what's happening in the family, or the personality of the kid, I know that person is not putting in effort. Like, I'm trying to help that person. And so can you address a bit about that? Like, what do I do about my personality? Like, yeah, you know what, I don't care. Like, I've done my bit. Or just people who are ignorant, who don't really care.
I think you've answered it. You've answered it. It's the ignorance. They're ignorant of the fact that you cannot live in isolation. I mean, you can, but you will not be happy. Will you? You can attain all the success and you can have all the money, you can do everything. But if you don't have good social connections, there is a big void. And then it's not worth it. And, we always say, sukh dukh ke saathi. And it's always your happiness and your success is multiplied when it's shared with others. And your joy and your sorrows are kind of reduced when they're shared with others. And I think that's what I'm saying. It must be inculcated at the very root level, at the grassroots level, in classrooms, in junior schools, in kindergarten, the whole concept of cooperation, that it gets instilled from that. And when you come up, to higher grades, you are together in that. And then life has more meaning. It is more fulfilling. Then you will not have that ideology of, oh, I have done this and I want my success. But if you have success and if you have some animosity with your best friend or someone else, if you're competing, then it's not worth it. We need to look deeper. Again, get into the meditation zone and start objectifying, the situation and seeing it, and it will give you the answers yourself. It will tell you that there is something missing. And it will be a lot more beautiful if you have your companions with you in that success.
Mehak, I'd like to again make an inference here. I'm sorry, you can correct me again if I'm wrong.
No,
because while you're talking, I have other scenarios coming up, but I think this answer applies to all the scenarios. Like, I was thinking about popular kids. There are popular kids in class, and then there are those who are absolutely, again, they're alone, or they have these 2-3 friends, but they're not able, they're socially outcasts, But I think again, everyone sharing and intentionally going out your way, I think not being comfortable in your own situation, and sharing that comfort with others. I think the sharing concept is really important. And no matter what, I think whatever scenarios are coming up in my head, I think that answers everything. That uh, you do your part, right? You
Yeah,
go,
absolutely.
yeah.
You lead by example, and again, this can be applied to any situation, not just education. Like I think in every scenario, as you said, like in your workplace and your family relationships and stuff, in everything, we must take everyone on board, and that's when it becomes more beautiful and more fulfilling.
Absolutely. So thank you for answering all the questions and extra scenarios that I put forward.
No
So,
worries.
okay. Yes. Okay. So here's another important question.
Mhm.
What kind of impact pop culture makes on a student's mental and emotional health?
Huge, absolutely huge. And we know that. And again, having said that, it can be used in both ways, for the good or for the bad. It depends on what you want to focus your energies in. You can spend all your time looking at things can which are just purely entertainment but not nourishment for yourself, for your growth. Or you can spend time using all of that information that we have at our fingertips. Quite literally today, I think YouTube has changed the game for everyone, and you can literally learn anything and everything that you want to. And that is a very important thing. Anything and everything, the choice is yours. What are you going to spend your time doing? And I'm going to tell you a very funny story that happened. So, of course, we have our YouTube accounts and stuff. And my husband and I, we are kind of similar, but we are extremely different in our choice of things that we like to watch and see and stuff. So, we like to connect our phones sometime to the TV. And this one morning, my husband turned the TV on, and there was a YouTube channel, and he connected to YouTube, and he's like just standing there completely confused, had no idea what's going on, and he's looking at all of these things. He's like start questioning his own existence. Everything was just so bizarre for him, because it was also like Hindi stuff and a lot of like other things, and he had no idea until he realized 5 minutes later, accidentally he logged into my account. Like my account was already synced with it. So he's looking at all the recommendations from my account, which were absolutely complete nuisance for him. And he's like, oh my God, what are you like? Things that you watch and stuff like that. And when I log into his account, and I'm like, oh my God, what's going on here? It's so different. And it's hilarious. But at the same time, we do make an effort to kind of get out of our comfort zone of things that we are used to watching, and look at things that we can both mutually enjoy and increase our depth and awareness of things, right? Because he said, like, as much as I would like to watch all of these things, I myself would never be able to, look for them, because it's like the whole universe is out there, and you can pick and choose what you want to direct your energies in. And that is a very important thing to recognize at this point. It's not just about you have these 5 channels on TV which are constantly bombarding you with that information. Whatever you are choosing to get into your head is your choice. And you can use it to make yourself or break yourself. So I think that is a very important awareness to have in today's day and age with the youth, that what are you going to use yourself for and use all these resources for. Yeah.
That's exactly what we say, like an informed. So I'm in the development sector, people. So I relate to Mehak when she says, when you grow up and you need to make adult decisions, you have to be an informed citizen. You have to know what news to take and not. So it's the same thing that applies in what she's saying, and I absolutely agree, Mehak. I just agree. Great. So the next question is going to be similar to the one I asked before about biasness in the class, or what kids can do. So how can a sense of empathy be fostered among students for each other, and what can teachers do from their end to in managing their anxiety?
So okay. Yeah. No, I'm just trying to think. Do you have, I'm assuming you definitely don't have kids, but do you have like nieces and nephews or small kids that you've interacted with?
Absolutely, yeah.
And have you noticed, if you ever feel sad or if not quite up to it, the kind of reactions that you would get like a really young child, what would that be?
Not interested.
No, I'm
Like
talking about like
what
really,
age?
no,
What
less than
age and
4 years
conversation?
old. Like,
Oh no.
yeah, like
Can you
that young.
repeat the
Like,
question? Can you ask me again? Table
sorry, I'm
turntable.
asking you. Yeah, right. No, because
Yeah.
I'm trying to see if my experience is kind of true for other
No,
people
please
as well.
do.
That's why.
I was caught off guard. So can you just repeat that
so,
question? Yeah. That's okay.
so
It's totally fine.
I'm asking you that, say a child of maybe 3, 4 years old, when they're able to kind of verbalize and they're not completely just a cute little sack, but so if you're feeling kind of low, or if you're crying, say, when they can really see that you're upset, how do you
Hmm.
think a 3 or 4 year old child would respond to that?
I honestly, like from my end, I think they would just be honest. Why you crying? They won't ask what's wrong, what happened, but they'll just
Yeah,
ask why you crying,
yeah,
or
right?
they would insinuate like did if they know I have a brother or I'm very close to someone, did that person make you cry? That's something that they, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, makes sense. So I have a nephew,
Okay.
and he's super attached to my mother, so his grandmother, right?
Hmm.
And every time anything goes wrong with her, even the slightest, he has that ability to sense it. And he would just go and kind of like, pat on her or start stroking her head or give her just like a nice, tight hug. And he would do that with anyone. And I think it's a beautiful thing. Why I'm saying that is because I feel it is an innate way for all of us as humans. We are born with empathy. That is part of our nature. And over the years, through all the social conditioning and ways of being, we start wearing these masks. And then there are layers that come on these masks. And we start hiding behind that. And that's the time when we stop empathizing with others, because we start creating this false identity, false self that we want to portray to the world, and not revealing who we really are. And that's where the problem begins, because that leads to problems at the same time for yourself and your connections with others, because now you're not being authentic. So I think being authentic is very, very important. And once you're authentic, empathy comes very naturally. So I was watching this video the other day, and it's all about normalize apologizing to children, because it's such a taboo. As a parent, as an authority, as a teacher, you feel like, oh, if I have to apologize to a child, or if I want to have to put myself down, I don't want to ever do that, because
Hmm.
that puts myself down. But just by doing that, what are you teaching the child? You are letting the child know that it's okay to apologize when you're making mistakes, and no matter what, anyone can make mistakes. And then you are being your true, authentic self. You do not have that false image, and the child learns that I can be vulnerable, that I can have authentic relationships even when I grow up. And I think these are the things that teachers can model in schools and classrooms, and parents can do that in their household as well. That we are all humans, we are all part of in this together. It's a never ending, ongoing process of learning and sharing and revealing and ourselves. But the more we want to hide behind this facade, behind these walls, and create that false image, then you spend so much time and effort just trying to be behind it, and that's the energy used in the wrong direction, and it's such a waste of time. I mean, what's the need? So I think in classrooms, what teachers can really do to improve empathy, we used to do this. Again, I'm remembering the time when I would work. You start the day with 10 minutes of silence, or every period you just give like those 5 minutes to settle the energy, to settle the class, and not just always in the reaction mode, but just like be there, kind of focus on the breathing, and then the whole energy of the class changes. Then you start seeing yourself again in a more beautiful way, in a much more calmer manner. And then when you connect with others, then when you're talking to others, you don't feel the need to be like so weird and stiff and on guard and all the time, because then you can really have beautiful, nourishing relationships. And I think if this becomes our education culture, it will just change the game, and it's high time we do that. So I think just silence for like 5 to 10 minutes, or just after the break, early in the morning, beginning of every period, especially when, after the PT period or the physical education period, when the energy is all scattered. If you come in and just give it that time for things to settle in, it really makes a huge difference. And it instills feelings of empathy, compassion, and these higher feelings, and not the lower primitive brain, because scientifically it's been proven when you kind of relate to people from that thing, the brain that is responsible for your primitive thing stops, and you go into your frontal lobe, and you are able to feel more compassionate towards others. And if you have compassion, you have empathy. If you have empathy, you have love. If you have love, there's no room for any animosity or greed or competition and stuff. And yeah.
It's beautiful. Yeah, I mean, I'm amazed at your answer, because it's so important, especially students, kids. If you're watching this, I encourage you to share this video with teachers, because I believe it's very important to what Mehak is saying. And do feel free to reach out to your teachers and let them know that, here's a teacher who's sharing her heart about her experience. And yeah, I would just encourage you to share this with your teachers as well, because I truly believe, Meg, the place you're coming from is what we have always needed, but it's just we have a platform now to talk about it more, to share about this more. So yeah, that's something that we should all take it forward. So yeah, thank you. I think we're about to end. We have just 2 more questions, and I'll ask the next one. What can educators do to help students with anxiety when they need therapy or someone to talk to, but the school doesn't have these resources? And it's something I think which is prevalent, largely prevalent in India, and I think Japan as well, if I'm not wrong.
I refer them to Life Jam. That's a step forward.
Wow, yes, indeed, yes.
And I have done that, just recently. I had this student who reached out and it's like, oh, I'm feeling this, and I'm here in Japan. I wasn't able to physically help. So I was like, you know what? Just connect. Do you remember Life Jam? Can you connect? And it worked. So I would say that's that. Second, I think the here to here also. I mean, these are the things I'm saying. And not just that, I also know of so many other resources which are now available freely. It's just a matter of you being able to reach out and connect, and that can be done. Having said that, there's a whole concept of teachers as counselors, right? Mm-hmm. I know that there are some schools, although it is a requirement, but there are schools where counselors are not there. And there are times when not every counselor is enough for the number of students a school has, like especially big schools. And we also started this whole initiative about teachers as counselors, and where every teacher gets a basic understanding of how to connect. And they are there when you have more authentic connections, which we previously talked about. When teachers are authentically involved in an awesome relationship with the student, then the student will not feel the need to hide, and then they can easily reach out to this grown up and can share their problems. At this point, I want to share something very beautiful again from what I've learned here working in the Japanese education system. You would be shocked to know that, we give so much emphasis on counseling and stuff in India, and we think it's still developing and stuff. And one would imagine it's already established here in Japan. There is no such concept. There is no concept of school counselors or mental health per se. Unfortunately, the other side is that there's a highest suicide rate of youth in Japan because of stress and pressure, because they don't have someone to talk to. So I used to feel really shocked, because it was everything against that I was used to doing, and every time I would see a child struggling, it would bother me. And here there's also a language barrier. So I can't just go up to a student and start chit-chatting, because English is not the way, and they're only learning English and teaching English here. So one, that is the issue. Two, I'm not supposed to. I have to follow protocols, right? I'm not. It's the homeroom teacher who has complete control over the child's life, so much so that even the parents don't. And I think that in a way was beautiful, because then I started talking to this teacher, and she said, we are responsible for the health and well-being of the child, including mental health. So teachers, as homeroom teachers, they do counseling, because they are the ones who are seeing the students every single day, all the time. And here, students are in the school until 6 to 8 p.m. in the evening. They do not go home at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock. It's most of their day and most of their life is spent in the school, because school is giving everything to them. And that's why this whole concept of teachers as counselors was very beautiful. You don't have to go anywhere. It's the person who's right there, and it's all about having that trust and connection. So on one hand, it is the job of the teachers to be able to form that connection so that students feel that they can freely go and talk to them. On the other hand, for students, they also need to kind of give that trust to the teachers that, okay, I can go and share and I can discuss my problems and I'm not in this alone. I don't have to suffer with it myself. So I think that could be the thing. Also, here again, there is a whole involvement of parent thing in it. And by involving parents, you are destigmatizing, you're kind of making them aware, because I think it's very common in India that during especially teenage years, the high school years, the gap between parental conversations with the student, the gap just keeps on increasing, because the students feel, oh, my dad's never going to understand, my mom's not going to understand, and parents feel like, oh, this is completely gone, hamara bacha bigar gaya, barbad ho gaya, all of that. So I think by having these three things, having the school and the parents and the student like working together, and we know the ultimate goal is the well-being of the child, and once that goal is established and we all work together and involving the parents, then you don't need, for most of the cases, you don't need. Of course, there are cases when you need professional help, and then that can be sought after. But for most of the case, it can be, you can nip it in the bud, is what I feel. And by sensitizing parents is very important, like making them understand what is the age group of the child. These are the developmental milestones. This is the normal behavior for a teenage to do. This is kind of okay. You don't always have to criticize and things like that. And you have to kind of make both ends come in together for a mutual understanding. I hope that answers.
Definitely does. A lot to take in terms of educators. Sometimes they need to do much more than apart from just teaching and just being a person, empathizing, all the values that you share, being compassionate, just being there for the kid. Thank you, Mehak. I think we're done with our heavy set of questions, and but they were all important, and you answered them beautifully. I mean, I wouldn't say anything was something that we couldn't relate to or not understand. So thank you for that. Thank you for
You're very welcome.
Experiences. Your students are blessed. We're blessed right now with your with everything that you've been talking about. So, okay, the one last question would be your chai pe charcha quote that you live by.
Okay.
Take your time.
I think I would like to sum up my life so far as daring to dream, or like dare to dream, because I feel when I look at myself as a teenager, as a young person who was growing up, who had all of these dreams to do things in life and wanted to achieve and stuff, a part of me always felt like, no, that's not possible. These things don't happen. These things don't happen. But there was also a part of me which constantly believed in it. And there was not even an iota of doubt that this will not happen. And I think that's what made the difference. It was that unshakable belief and faith and trust that no, good things are meant to happen, they will happen. And I really say, and I mean it, that miracles are happening every single second. We just need to kind of take a step back and tune into it and watch it, and it's happening. And my life journey has been that. The opportunities I got, they were just so random. Each one of them, they were so random. Like in a normal day of thing, you would not think. But because there was like a desire, there was a belief, you kind of attract that, the whole law of attraction kind of works in. And I can vouch for it. It works. So that's how I have lived my life, and I continue to do so. You work hard, of course, but you also dare to dream. A lot of time what happens is we have these big dreams, and then the logical mind says like, but this is not possible. How will that happen? It's too sunny. It cannot possibly snow. It does. I have seen that here. I mean, I'm talking about weather, but also like other things in life. But our logical mind kind of stops us from daring to dream. And that is where the problem is. You know why? Because magic begins where logic ends. So you leave that logical mind behind and let your creativity, let your spontaneity, let your zeal for life rule. And then nothing is impossible. You kind of attract all the awesomeness that you want, and you can literally have anything you want in your life. It's just you have to believe it hard and really like unshakably that no matter what, this is going to happen, and it will happen. it will happen for sure. Yeah.
Dare to dream, dare to dream. I will, and I hope we all dare to dream as well. This was amazing, Mehak. I'm gonna, after this ends, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna just take some more notes because, to be honest, I'm also interested in teaching. I've done TESOL as well, and I've shared this with you. So Mehak is. You've been amazing. So thank you, Mehak. I would, as the Japanese say, arigato gozaimasu. So that is thank you in Japanese, and
Yes.
deeply appreciate your time. So yeah, any last words before we part?
Actually, yes, because you included Japanese. So I do want to share and kind of my giveaway and take away from this. And of course, I am extremely grateful once again for you and for the entire Live Jam and Here to Here team for having me there and thinking about me for this. I feel that I'm not forgotten even though I'm not in the country. So that's awesome. In situations like this, there are two phrases, just like arigato gozaimasu, is thank you, two phrases in Japanese that are very much used all the time. And I think they're absolutely beautiful. One is onegai shimasu, right? Onegai shimasu, which basically translates as please take care of me. It brings in that whole concept of cooperation, that we rely on each other. So for everything else, you say, onegai shimasu, onegai shimasu, right? So I think that's a beautiful thing. And even like for anything and everything, you can use it. The other thing for this particular situation and as a signing off is utsukare sama deshita. Utsukare sama deshita means literally translates as you have done your best. Thank you for giving your best. And now take time off and relax and just kind of go home and like that sort of a thing. And even when we are kind of passing teachers in the corridor or you meet someone, you always address each other as utsukare sama desu or utsukare. It's basically to honor whatever in whatever capacity you have contributed, and or even just existing, bringing that energy. And I think these two phrases are literally the heart and soul of Japanese culture, which is so beautiful in that respect of making you feel welcome, making you feel comfortable and at peace and at ease. So utsukare sama deshita and yoroshiku onegai shimasu. Thank you very much, and it was absolutely a pleasure.
Thank you, Mehak. I'm gonna miss you. So I hope we stay in touch. And I hope
Yes.
you all stay in touch and you all keep chatting with us, DMing us, whatever it is, reach out to us and make sure till we reach back. So thank you and have an awesome day, everyone. Have an awesome weekend, Mehak. I forgot the phrase, but yeah, sayonara. Sayonara.
Yes, utsukare sama desu.